Hello and welcome to the In Full Force podcast. I'm Julie Fairweather, your host, and this is the inaugural podcast for In Full Force. In Full Force is the company I just recently created, which is meant to create a group and a conversation and a community for women in our age bracket, around 60 or so. They may be experiencing the empty nest. They may just be experiencing a look at the next 2 decades of their life and wondering what's next. So I created the In Full Force podcast so that we could have conversations about how to live our best life, how to live with passion and joy and excitement, which is how we should be living. And today I'm very excited to have Dawn Tardif here with me. She is the founder and president of BodiScience Wellness Center and Spa. It specializes in Ayurvedic beauty, wellness, care. And our sole purpose today is to have a conversation about what is Ayurveda. You're going to have to tell me how to say that correctly. And how can it enhance our lives? How can it make us feel better about ourselves by sort of creating beauty within? So Dawn, take a moment and let us know what your BodiScience Wellness Center and Spa is all about, and then tell us a little bit about Ayurveda.
So BodiScience, it was born to be a respite for everyone, men, women, and children, to come to us. Of course, women are probably the most predominant for our clientele, and a place to really learn about themselves and to take a moment to go within. The neuroscience, Ayurvedic medicine, Chinese medicine, traditional Chinese medicine is what we're based off of. It allows for someone to come in and to rest their body in our hands, actually kind of cradle them, and it returns them to self. But the therapies that we're doing are remarkable to leave feeling joyful on an emotional level, to feel beautiful on the outside, and also lighting a fire, lighting a little light for their spirit. So it's really understanding their story. I think everyone comes to us with a different story, and they really need to be heard. And then once they're heard, creating that environment, creating that treatment for them to experience something that really shifts them so that they have a reawakening. You know, it's like going back home.
I want to go back home. You and I have known each other for more than 2 decades now. I have experienced BodiScience extensively, probably not as much as I should have or wanted to, because I raised 3 children who are now grown adults thriving, which is wonderful. But one thing that I've realized over the past 2 years dealing with the empty nest is that I didn't take enough care of myself during those years. Something always came before me, whether it was my daughter's competitive dance, my son's competitive hockey, the private schools, they're sick, just having no time at all. Let's talk a little bit about why it is so important for women in general, and I know you care for all types, all people, but why women in general should be taking care of themselves throughout the process of raising a family, specifically with the care that you provide.
Well, in many traditional forms of medicine, we talk about how the woman is the leader of the family. We set the tone, and so really you're the teacher. And so the greatest aspect of being a teacher is teaching your children how to honor themselves. And how we honor ourselves is then going to radiate to the rest of the family. So there's a couple of different types of ways of thinking about that. You know, how we treat ourselves is then how other people are going to treat us. Taking the time to really experience slowing down, you know, like to leave the noise and to have time for yourself. There's a beauty of what I call the art of making an appointment. You know, you're protecting the appointment time. It's only for you, and that's your time. And there's magic that happens, magic that unfolds when we have that time for ourselves. Sometimes it could be that you're able to give more. Sometimes it's that you're looking forward to that. When you have a plan and you have a plan in place and you know that that's there, it actually assists you during the time waiting for that appointment because you know that it's coming. But it radiates when you take the time to have someone touch you. There's great power in the tactile. Today, there's a lot of things that are happening in our environment that are not. They're injections or more superficial. No harm in that, But in that touch, that neuroscience, we're awakening the cells, we're awakening the vagus nerve, we're awakening the repair of your body and the restoration. It's as if your body is now able to eavesdrop and say, what is it that I need to take care of? It kind of like a computer. If you leave the computer or television on all the time, then it's not actually going to be working. You've got to shut it off, let it reset, let it restart, and then you feel fresh, and then you're ready to go. And that's what we do for our clients. And it actually extends to a little bit more than that, but that in a nutshell is what we provide. And then there's a lot of other things based on science, that whether it be nutritional support, whether it be meditation support, whether it be taking a look at their month, their day, their year, sourcing a Chinese calendar to be able to understand their biorhythm so that we can put them in rhythm. You know, one thing that I would say is Chinese medicine, Ayurvedic medicine is based on seasons, and what you're describing is the seasons of life.
That's correct,
We
yes.
all step through the seasons of life. We all step through the times of, if we're familiar with the doshas, the vata, the pitta, the kapha. So at the time when we're raising children, we're very pitta. So we're very focused.
Yes.
And that gives us the opportunity to raise our family, or whatever choice that we have. Doesn't necessarily have to be family. It could be career. It could be something else that we're really hyper focused on. But just to remember that if we take that time and that respite, we actually come back and we're able to give so much more of ourselves.
Yeah, and that appointment, that sort of set time for yourself should be non-negotiable. I found when I was raising my children, it was always the first thing to cancel or reschedule or not do. Looking back, I should have made it non-negotiable. And I just remembered a story. I went to you for one of your amazing massages, which we can talk a little bit more about that. It's so restorative. It's incredible. But what I would do is I'd turn off my phone when I went in. And whenever I came out of the massage, there'd be this barrage of phone calls and texts. Where are you, Mom? What are you doing? We can't find you. They're trying to find my location. And it's just so funny because I'd be like, thank God I turned my phone off. I mean, they were with their father, so clearly they were safe, but that need for me to constantly be there, it's not, it's not assumed, it's not make believe. They truly let you know that they want you there. Yes. But tearing yourself away from that, like you said, is so important because you're rejuvenating yourself, you're loving yourself so you can love others, and that's just so incredibly important. So now there's the moms that don't do that, and that's what I'm addressing. It's the women that are my age. I just turned 60 in January. Gulp. And I know, yay! And as you do, yes. We're both Capricorns, we're both 60. And I look back and say, I wish I had maybe taken better care of myself. So what about the women out there now who are saying, oh, it's too late. It's too late for me to feed that soul, to make myself feel beautiful, to actually look and feel beautiful and live life in a really beautiful way. Like, what advice would you have for them?
It's never too late. I don't want to use that trite phrase, but it's never too late, because if you just think for a moment, you fall in love. And that essence of falling in love, that everyone says to you, oh my gosh, you look beautiful. What are you doing for yourself?
Right.
And you are radiating beauty. It's coming through. It's coming through your eyes. It's actually coming through the way you walk. It's coming through your posture. It's coming through that little wiggle.
Strut, yeah.
We got it all going on. And we're in love. That is never too late to happen for somebody, and that is pure beauty.
Yep.
So if we have the ability to return inward, because part of Ayurvedic medicine is that we shouldn't be happy when. It's not a journey and then a destination. We need to be happy, just mic drop, period.
Right.
We should wake up in the morning and be happy. And we all know that's not happening when we have all these little things that are tethered to us, that are tied to us, and pulling on our heartstrings, whether it be children, whether it be what we're trying to achieve in life. We feel it. For some of us, we feel it 24/7. So when that happens, it creates stress. And no one's looking good when they're stressed, right? So the problem is that when we are stressed, when we have cortisol running through our body, that's what ages us. That's exactly what ages us.
And how do we reverse that?
You come to see me.
Yes.
So, or meditation. You know, it's I try to give my clients tools from when they're away from me. As an Ayurvedic practitioner or doctor, I share with our clients that I never want them to be reliant upon anyone. You need to be self-sufficient.
You have everything you need.
Exactly.
You have the tools.
You have the tools. You know, even as far as learning things, we only need to stop and take a moment to go within, to return home, to hear the answers. You know, our body has the answers that it needs. We're just too busy to be listening. And so it's not like if you have to, you know, I'll be happy when, I'll be healthy when. It's not as if you have to take a course or if you have to do the next thing. You don't. If you take the time, even to spend in nature, it's a beautiful moment that you actually, your body and the neuroscience behind it, you're even taking the time to breathe. You know, there's a great acronym that we use the word STOP. So S would be completely stop. Now take 3 deep breaths. Exhale. Really take them deep right down into the diaphragm. Use the diaphragm to the belly. And then you observe. You take in the information that you need. And then you proceed. And it's amazing what happens when you do that. Because now you've calmed the body to be able to really see what's happening. And for women, we're very intuitive. So we just turned on our intuition.
And breathing is so important. My family used to make fun of me because I had a sign in the kitchen that said, just breathe. And they'd say to me, oh, because we're going to forget. And it's funny because as I've gone through so many different experiences in life, some of them challenging and whatnot, breathing has saved me in many circumstances. Childbirth is all about breath work and breathing. Yoga is all about breathing and working through the tough things by using your breath. So it's such an overlooked necessity. I mean, sure, we breathe in and out, but we're not breathing correctly. We're not taking the time to breathe, to relax our nervous system and focus back within. Now, you had talked about meditation and also the now, the power of now. It's one of my favorite books, but living in the now instead of ruminating about the past or worrying about the future is so important. My mom was always saying, I'll be happy when. That was her thing. Well, when this happens, then I'll be okay. And she ended up dying and being very immobilized by autoimmune issues, you know, a little bit too much smoking, drinking. Her quality of life was so poor, which is why I'm now inspired to create this community, but also to live that motto of taking care of myself and slowing down and living and appreciating the now. You had talked about meditation, which is so important, and you actually did a series of meditations that we did this winter. It was a winter solstice, and that was 21 days.
21 days. Yes.
21 days, 7 a.m. via Zoom, we would get together and meditate. You're going to do that again this spring, correct?
Yes, starting June 1st, and we're going to do it for the summer solstice. Ironically, we opened BodiScience on June 21st, 1990. So 35 years ago. Yeah. So,
congratulations.
Thank you.
Yes.
That will be a wonderful birthday.
Yes, absolutely. It should be celebrated. So what is this summer solstice meditation? What's the focus of that, and what can people get out of it?
You know, there's a wonderful, I know people meditate. A lot of our clients meditate already. And I would say that if you haven't experienced group meditation, and I know that you meditate, but you took the course with me, it's very different. You know, I would say that I've meditated since I was 5 years old. I never let go of my meditation. So earlier we were talking about non-negotiables. So that's non-negotiable for me. I have to get up in the morning. The first thing that I'm doing is meditating. And when you're with a group, there's a tremendous, remarkable difference. There's wavelengths, you know, when we think about our brain, and a lot of people always talk about energy. We are an energetic being, and we do vibrate. And so when we are in a group with people, our vibration and our wavelengths begin to sync. And people that have been on the meditation with me, I've done it for 5 years now. I started around COVID time, and we kept it going 4 times a year. So there's a lot of clients or guests or people that have that they've shared outside of BodiScience. And they've come back every year. They've been
I
with
understand
me for
why.
5 years.
I'll never not be there. And I guess you could say that's one of the good things about COVID is that it gave us Zoom and it gave us the opportunity to connect while also not being together. I wouldn't want to live a life that's 100% that, but those quiet mornings as the winter was beginning to just spend the time with you and the group that you brought together was very life-changing, mind-shifting, and helped me get through the winter. It set the stage for such positivity and such peace. So I assume that was the purpose of doing it in the winter, because you're going into this very cozy, nurturing time. But now we're going into summer activity, sunshine. So what will the focus be for that meditation? Joy, yes, for that meditation group.
And that's exactly what it's all about, is that really uncovering your joy. So in the wintertime, we're, underneath the snow and we're hibernating, and we're it's almost like fertilization of what's happening for us. And then all of a sudden we have spring, and then here we are, we're blossoming. And then for summer, we're in it, the sun's shining. That's your time, your fire, nighttime, fire, a lot of joy. So really cultivating that. Because when we start to think about when's the last time we were happy, when the last time that we really had pure joy, that's a question that we all have to ask, is that when is the last time you've been happy? And when's the last time when you woke up and you were like, yes, let's greet the day.
Yes.
I say that to my mom every morning when I wake up, is like, okay, Mom, time, greet the day. The day is ahead of us. What are we going to use it for? And so this meditation is to prepare us for the summertime and prepare us for that awakening and to have that joy in our heart and to stimulate it. And then coming together as a group, the magic really is tenfold. One, as you know, we take the time in the morning to say our hellos. We tend to connect through voice. And then we go in and I give you the focus of the day, so something that we don't traditionally think about. And then I give you a mantra along with, some hand mudras. So some of them can be more difficult than others.
Yes, especially at 7 a.m.
And then that's going to help. It's like yoga for your body, but done with your hands. And then we go into the quiet moment, and then we come back out and we ask questions or comments. And I really think that that's the magic, is that there's a lot of people that think to themselves, is this what I should be experiencing? This is what I experienced, and then allows for that opportunity.
Yes.
And then magic just happens.
Because when you're meditating by yourself, you're in your head a lot, and this helps you. You know that everyone else is sort of outside of their minds thinking of this mantra and the hand position and being still. So because you're doing it with other people, it helps you do that. But also at the end of it, you can discuss how you felt or maybe any challenges that you had that when you're just meditating by yourself, you don't have the opportunity to do. So it's magic. I love that you provide that service. So that's one of the things that you do for people that aren't physically in your business. But can you just give me an overview of BodiScience by telling me about the logo? You've got the tree with the roots. And I think anytime you've discussed this with me and talked about BodiScience, the tree and what it symbolizes about your business is so poignant.
Well, there's a lot behind that tree. It took us a while to craft that logo, and I had a dream one night. I have a girlfriend of mine that I grew up with in high school. Each of us had some nicknames, so I'm going to call her Peaches. That was her nickname. I will not share with you mine. And I dreamt of Peaches, and I thought to myself, I have to call her. She was a graphic artist. And I said, Peaches, I dreamt this logo, and I need your help. And so behind it, I had been thinking Bodhi tree. And the Bodhi tree is one of the oldest trees that bear fruit, fig. And Buddha was known to sit underneath it. And animals would come to him, deer would sit beside him, and he would impart his wisdom. And I had a dream that night about the tree. And so I said to my girlfriend, I have this vision in my head. And to me, what the Bodhi tree represents is being one of the oldest trees. The roots are the deepest. So the roots go into the soil. It takes from the soil all the nutrients. It comes through the tree, and it then gives and bears fruit. And we began speaking about it, and she said, oh my gosh, well, this is what I see. Your clients come, they sit underneath the tree, they find shade. They can also pick the low-hanging fruit. So whatever they're ready for, they don't have to be ready for something that's magnanimous. They can start, very, very simple, very slow. And then some clients are awakened to want to climb the tree. And they might climb the tree all the way to the top to take the highest hanging fruit. And as we know, in the highest hanging fruit, that's usually the sweetest. And with the sweetest of fruit, that's when you're really uncovering you're uncovering your purpose, what we call in Ayurveda, your dharma. And with the fig, that you're able to take it as you like. And my girlfriend decided, okay, there's one more component. And I just thought it was magical when she did it, is that since my name is Dawn, or whatever she decided to associate, that I was the sun giving warmth and birth to the tree. And so the sun behind the tree is myself and what we bring to BodiScience.
It is really beautiful too. And it's so true that feeding your roots and soaking in the nutrients that you need really is what's going to make you beautiful on the outside. And that's true of moms who are giving of themselves, giving. To truly feel your best and be your best, you have to feed your roots. Yeah. So that's BodiScience for sure. But that's just the process in the way of life that you have to live. Either, if you can do it while you're a mother, if someone educates you and teaches you to do that when you're a mother, great. Right. But now that you've raised your family, I think a lot of women end up saying, oh, what about me? Not in like a spiteful way or like a victimized way. We're not victims, but what about me? Because now you have the time to think about yourself. Right. Before I had children, I know that was my sole purpose, to have the children, because I was so passionate about it and I didn't mind giving of myself. I could have done a better job taking care of myself, but whatever, it is what it is at this point. But now that I've raised them and they're amazing, I'm now saying, well, what is my sole purpose at this point in time? And I think that the ways that I've started to tap into that and figure out what that was by taking care of myself, by loving myself, and by taking time to slow down and pause for a moment, meditate, do yoga, read, journal. So I think that having a resource like BodiScience not only helps you pamper yourself and take care of yourself, but really does feed your souls in ways that when you walk away and continue with your life after you leave your spa, you can truly do the things that will nurture your soul. So you had talked about BodiScience and the logo. I think that's an amazing representation of what you provide and what you represent. But what are some of the key services? Like if you were to say the 3 key services that you provide, what are they?
All of them are rooted in traditional Chinese medicine, Ayurveda. We should revisit that so I can tell you what that means, and neuroscience. And so I would say our most sought after experience that would make someone feel comfortable, that they would feel comfortable stepping into and experiencing, would be our above and beyond skin therapy, where you start, if you're a new client, we start with you bathing your feet in this beautiful Himalayan sea salt foot soak. It has bay, eucalyptus, thyme. Then we dry your feet off, and there's a lot of symbolism in that, and a lot of other reasons why we do that. There's a beautiful heart in the bowl, which that's a whole other, heart in the bowl is actually going to change the molecular structure of the water. We then put you onto the massage table, massage your back, your head, your neck, your shoulders, your arms, your hands, your scalp. And then we turn you over and we massage the décolleté, go into the face. We carry a lot of stress in our face, a lot of stress in our scalp, and we hold our expressions. So part of what we're doing when we start with the back is that we're opening up the channels of the blood flow, the oxygen, the nutrients. A lot of people are very tight, shoulders, head, neck. And then when we turn you over, massaging the décolleté, going into these different expression areas that we hold, it's amazing how you feel. Like the jaw starts to loosen, the eyes, you don't even know that your eyes hurt. And all of a sudden we're unraveling. But in acupressure of what we do, it's connected. You can actually do acupressure on children to help with depression, anxiety, trauma. So these points are very sacred, but they're releasing what we're holding, which is so important. Whatever, no longer serves us. We do lymphatic stimulation. We're using products that are amazingly energetic, that far surpass like the typical American product. These actually are quantum energetics, so they actually work on your emotions, your spirit, your physical. We massage your hands, arms, feet, doing Tibetan reflex points on the feet and balance the chakras. I would say that that's probably our most sought after, what someone feels comfortable for the first time coming to visit us for.
Well, it sounds like a great introduction to what you provide in the services, because it's a whole body, but it also has so much intention. So you had mentioned Ayurveda, and that we talk about what that is. So in order to understand the importance of that massage that you just described, what is Ayurveda, and how does that feed into the process of that massage that you do?
So Ayurvedic, either philosophy or Ayurvedic medicine, it's good to break up the word. Vedas, people probably already know from Latin, is knowledge, wisdom. Ayur is life. So it's the knowledge of life and how to live. And it encompasses many things. So one thing that I didn't mention about the tree is that there's branches of Ayurveda. So Ayurveda encompasses everything. It encompasses the emotional, the psychological, the herbology, gemstone therapy, chakra therapy, surgery, the science behind epigenetics, how we age. So there's many branches of Ayurveda. It's not just one. Yoga is from Ayurveda. That's another branch. And yoga to us is the science of life, of how you step through life to uncover the things that you need to release. So very gently going through body postures and tapping into your breathing has a purpose. It's not an exercise. It's actually bringing you within. It's another form of what we would call active meditation. So with all of these layers and branches, every treatment that I've created takes every branch into that treatment to allow for us to have some transformation. And then people feel transformed. We have many men or women that actually talk about experiencing these treatments, and they either tell us there or they leave us and come back and share with us, whether it be through trauma, that they felt like something has left them.
Yes.
They start to heal. That balancing the chakra system, that's a conversation itself, that a lot of people think that that's very esoteric. It's not. It taps into our systems, our endocrine system, lymphatic system, circulatory system. So all the things that we are touching upon are having a tremendous impact, as well as the music that we're playing. So there's many components that are lulling someone, nourishing somebody, and then there's remarkable results from that.
And I think that the key here is not feeling like you have to know what it is you need walking in there. Similar to me doing yoga, I just knew that I was struggling a bit. I was feeling some stress and some pain and some sadness, and I didn't want to feel that way anymore. So I did yoga. I always say that I have this yoga mat that I've had for 3 years now, and I say I birthed myself on that yoga mat because I didn't know when I went into it that I had things I needed to process and heal and let go. And I didn't go to yoga because I thought I was going to do that. I went to yoga because I wanted to get in shape and I wanted to move my body. But as a result, I ended up processing and resolving so many issues. I'm like the happiest I've ever been in my entire life because of that. So going into BodiScience, you're not going to walk in, or most people don't walk in and say, oh, I feel so much stress inside. I've got an upset stomach. My face is breaking out. I'm pale. I'm gray. Fix that and the reason why I'm feeling that way is because of X, Y, and Z. It's almost as though they discover their trauma and what they need to heal during the process of a treatment at BodiScience.
I'm just going to pause and be quiet. Beautifully said, because I'll tell you, so many people, when they enter into the BodiScience doors, they'll say, I don't know why I'm here, but I know I need to be here. And they trust us. And one thing that I've said many times in my life is that I know that people love us. I know that, a lot of our clients say, oh my God, I just love BodiScience. But what is the thread that weaves us all together for 35 years is the trust. And I'm always so amazed when even someone that's brand new trusts us and rests their body in our hands and allows us to take them on that journey.
Because there's a level of vulnerability that they have to exhibit in order to fully appreciate and take in what the services that you're providing.
You just gave me chills, Julie. You just gave me chills, because I would say that a lot of times we're not vulnerable. It's I love there's so many different TED Talks about vulnerability today, and as women we wear a mask, right? Yes. And we feel that we have to be, we've got to be that daughter, we have to be the mother, we have to be the teacher, we have to be the CFO, we have so many things that we're trying to be, that each of those masks are what we need to put down in order for us to heal and know that that's not us. And that's the mistake that we make. We think that we are that person. And when you think about yourself, there's a meditation that I've taken you on where you begin to repeat, I am, and then you say your name, and your first name, your last name. I am, and then your first name. And then I am, and we drop that, and we move to so-hum, which is I am in Sanskrit. And the reason why we do that is we're helping you to release those masks that you're wearing so that you can come back home to where you...
To you, to your heart.
Yes.
And also to the knowing
exactly
of, what you're all about, why you're here. And it's all about love, and loving yourself is the key. Whether you're doing the beauty treatments, whether you're doing the meditations, whether you're doing the yoga, it's all coming back to yourself and loving yourself. I did the pigeon hip openers, frog in yoga, and for the first year and a half, I sobbed on my mat every time I did it. And I was like, this is ridiculous. I feel so silly crying, but it's just like, I didn't know why I was crying. I didn't know what I was feeling. I didn't know what I was working through. And now I can do all of those moves and I don't cry. Like I processed that. And it's, women need to give themselves the opportunity to process that.
Yes.
The whole I'm fine mentality is not serving them. And it's certainly not going to serve them as they go on into the next 2 decades of their life. I always say I'm 60, I'm going to live at least 2 more decades, maybe more. 3, 90, and do so healthily. And the only way you're going to do it in a healthy way is to take care of yourself now. Yes, you should take care of yourself through motherhood if you can. It's not easy, but if you do, amazing that you can do that you have the wisdom to do that. But once you reach an age that's 50, 60, and you need to turn back to yourself, you have to make yourself the priority. You have to nurture yourself, and you actually have to allow yourself to heal the wounds that are holding you back. And BodiScience is one of the things that I know does that. And meditation does that, and yoga does that. So what do you think about women who are my age, our age, who all of a sudden say, okay, now it's time to take care of me? What are the first steps they can take towards making the steps in the right direction?
Well, I want to go back to something that you said, because it's really important, is that number one, we have to learn to be tender with ourselves. I think that there's many different women across our globe are very different with how they care for themselves. And in Ayurveda, it's not self-care, it's love of self. And I think the first thing that I would say is that we need to learn to be tender with ourselves. You've got to get rid of the judgment. I think a lot of women live in judgment because they feel they're being judged. And so you have to allow for the permission for you to receive. A lot of us want to give, but we're not in that reciprocal energy of receiving. In that, we're not allowing for ourselves to be vulnerable, to be able to receive, and to give ourselves that love. I think that, the major thing that probably you and I can do for anyone listening to this podcast is that give them the permission to be tender with themselves, to realize that they need to learn to love themselves. If you don't love yourself, and that's not narcissism, if you do not love yourself, you are incapable of giving love to anyone else. When we do not love ourselves, that's when we find ourselves in a contentious relationship with anybody. So learning that loving yourself is not a bad thing.
No.
I remember the judgment that was passed for me, being an owner of BodiScience, and sometimes even my very own clients would say, well, that's easy for you to do. Oh, well, you can have treatments anytime. Oh, well, you're not a mother, so you can take the time that you'd like. There was a lot of judgment.
Right.
And people don't know one another's lives. And everyone has a story. It's being respectful of that, not sitting in judgment, releasing some of the things that we may have been taught, because as New Englanders, we have been taught to be the martyr. You know, it's almost like, you know, and I say this from working on over 30,000 clients over 3 decades. You know, people are taught that. They're taught that they have to spend time for their family. They need to take care of their children. If you are taking time for yourself, then you're not a good mother. What are you doing? You should be taking care of the kids.
And nothing could be more untrue.
Exactly. So we have to break through those that narrative, and we need to allow and give permission to us as women to understand that, yes, we are lovable. We need to first love ourselves. Give yourself permission to do these things. It's never too late. Everyone does the same things that you're speaking of in all different facets of their lives. And it doesn't matter whether we have baby or not, that there are many things in our lives that take enormous amounts of our energy and time to co-create or to create by ourselves.
Right.
And it's not easy for someone that's alone. It's not easy for someone that's married. There's no judgment. I think that that's what we really
There's
need
also no category.
Right.
I think a lot of people have said to me, well, I didn't have children. I'm not an empty nest mom. And I'm like, at first, that's what the audience I was addressing, because that's my audience, that's who I am. But then I've realized there's other women like yourself who has birthed a business and who has given your heart and your soul and love and attention to so many other areas. So I think it's more about women who are our age and who want to live the rest of their lives with purpose in great health, mental, spiritual, physical health. And that's just part of the community that I'm trying to build, which is why I have you here for my first podcast, because you get it, and you also introduce a different mindset that women can benefit by knowing. So you own a spa, you own a location that people can go to get services. What do you think are the first few steps that women should take if they're like, okay, I'm done not loving myself, I'm done not focusing on myself, but they don't know where to start?
You know, the first treatment that I just explained to you, I would say starting there is beautiful. There are many others. There are many traditional Ayurvedic treatments that are remarkably transformative. We have Tibetan Shirodhara, that is a psycho-spiritual type of a treatment. We've held space over 30 years for people that have stepped through trauma, who are anxious, that are depressed. That's one of the things that we're very proud of. We've worked on our soldiers with post-traumatic stress, with traumatic brain injury. So a lot of the treatments that we do are intentional for that. So as a woman coming in and thinking to themselves that I need to do this for myself, anything they select, because people are in all different stages of life, and we'll say seasons of life that they're stepping through, and someone may be craving something else that's more nourishing and nurturing, and someone might be very, very timid, that I don't even want to be touched.
Right.
So there's so many different clients that step through our doors, and as a guest we welcome them in to learn about them, for us to curate a treatment. But there's treatments for everybody. So, you know, whatever it is, whatever it takes, we're there to choreograph it.
So we've spent a lot of time talking about BodiScience and the spa that you've created for the past 35 years. And the question that I have for you now is, what is your next 2 decades look like? What do you want to do with all of the knowledge and the experiences that you've curated through the years?
You know, I think that you've seen the things that have been happening throughout the years with beauty. I've always felt that, and this is how BodiScience started, is that someone had asked me, why don't you step into this industry? And I thought to myself, because it's so superficial, I don't want to be in this industry.
So you're talking more about sort of the plastic surgery, the cosmetic beauty that is very prevalent right now. But I believe that people are pulling away from that because they're seeing it's not creating the beauty and the natural effects that they're looking for. It's actually doing the exact opposite. So
in many cases, yes. And I have many, different guests that come to me from many different walks of life. And, there's many different theories, right? There's the theory of that if you look good on the outside, you're going to feel good on the inside. And so there's many different theories. But in my theory, how I genuinely feel is that you cannot be beautiful if you do not have empathy, compassion, kindness, love. There's many stories that I tell about that someone can be the most beautiful aesthetically on the outside. And I'm sure that we all can think of a person that, maybe perfect lips, perfect skin, perfect physique. And you're not saying to yourself that they're the most beautiful woman you know. A beautiful woman's going to be someone that stops and is present with you. That, to me, Julie, since the moment we've met, you're the beautiful woman. You are. I mean, serious.
Thank you. I feel the same way about you. Thank you.
It's because your heart shines. Like when we talk, it's not superficial.
No.
It's that we hear each other's, we hear past the words. Most people hear the words, and for someone to really, truly have the essence of beauty, you look past the words. You hear that with your heart and you listen. That is a beautiful woman. A woman that has beautiful posture. She's radiating. She's pleased with herself. She knows that she spends time doing something that actually feeds her. And you see her walking down the street, then you're like, we just met someone that I felt that way, and she's over 70 and actually over 80, and I thought to myself, oh my gosh, what a beautiful woman. And nothing aesthetically would someone else equate to that.
Right.
So when truly, I'll go back to that, truly, when you are healthy, when you are happy, we look the most beautiful and radiant. No one can really put a face on if you're not feeling well, if you're feeling depressed or sad, if you have angst, if you're stepping through life feeling that stress. There's no way we can, paint over. There's nothing.
It's going to show no matter what.
It's going to show. So we have to really be aware of that. So when I started BodiScience, that's really what my philosophy was. And it's so interesting today. I think that touch is becoming more prevalent, especially since there's the epidemic of loneliness and we're not connected, and we need to have that interconnectedness. That's where we find joy, that when we're spending time with others and people are present with us, that's when we have joy. And of course, dancing.
Yes, don't forget dancing. And speaking of things we love, I have used books and reading over the past couple of years to truly change my mindset. And I'm always reading new books. I love to read something new and different. And I'd like to sort of end the podcast by asking you, what is your favorite book?
Oh my good Lord. This is going to be horrible because I can't remember the title, but it's a book of poems. And I cannot recall the gentleman's name, and I can picture it in front of me. I open it up to different pages, and, something that I think I've shared with you. I've gone through a lot of different things in my life, and as I was going through a health issue, and I had a book that I would read because all of the medication and things that they had me on, you were not present in your brain. You couldn't read a book. So I used to take a feather and put it in a page, and then I would open up the book and read 3, 4, 5 lines and be done. And then I would think about it. And I would wake up in the morning, I would do that in the morning, I would go to bed at night, open it back up. And it's a wonderful gentleman's name. And, the lines are just so evoking. I think that poetry has magic. Like many times I've read Rumi, or I've read some other types of poetry that when you take a look at Ayurvedic medicine, there's so many Ayurvedic poets that are there and others. And when you read those words, it really makes you think. And it makes you think in a different way.
Yeah,
Anything
and
that's-
it's cool because it makes you think in your own way. So poetry can only be interpreted by you.
Yes.
Someone else can tell you, oh, this is what it means, but you and your brain and your feelings and your experiences are going to transcribe that poem in your own personal way, which is why poetry is so beautiful. And I remember when we did the meditation session, you would end almost every session with a poem.
Yes.
Which was beautiful.
I was just thinking that.
Yeah.
And it was beautiful because we have a couple of people that were in our group and they would interpret it. And I always would think to myself, oh my gosh,
And thought about it that way.
how
Yeah.
beautiful, like for that interpretation and for them to share. And that to me is the magic.
Yeah.
Is that you hear these words and it means something different to everybody. We give, but you never know how that's received.
Right.
We know not what the gift is for that other person. And sometimes it's the greatest of gift, and sometimes they dismiss.
Yep.
So, we just take what we can from things and
Exactly.
we learn,
That's kind of like my favorite book is, well, it's not my favorite, but the book that changed my life and started me on this path my daughter gave to me. And I'm always blown away that my daughter, probably at that time she was 23, 24 years old, has been such a changing force in my life because she has introduced me to so many new ideas and new ways of thinking and the being present and being, in the here and now. She gave me the 5 a.m. Club. And I don't know if you've ever read that book, but it doesn't mean you have to get up at 5 a.m. every day. It's about dedicating your life to living the best possible way and to seeing things in new and different ways and being disciplined and being dedicated to living your best life. So that's the book I love. And that's why I created In Full Force, because I feel like nobody has all the answers. I certainly don't. And I'm not a therapist and I'm not an expert. I'm just a woman who wants to live her best life. And I'm hopefully living by example. So I really hope that the In Full Force podcast ends up being a platform, a place where women can go to learn something new and, like the poetry that you talked about, walk away with their own interpretation of what it is and how it can benefit their lives and then keep coming back for more.
That's the beauty.
It is. Now, if people were interested in your meditation session that's coming up in June, where would they find out more about that?
Right on our website, BodiScience.com. And they could sign up for our newsletter. We actually have an app. They can put their email inside the app under BodiScience, both for Android and for iPhone. And either way, they will receive an email and it will talk about our meditation coming up in June. And then you just go ahead and sign up and I would love to see everyone there.
And getting the newsletter is cool because even if you don't think you're ready to go in for a full service or can't commit financially or time-wise, you can get the nuggets of information and the wisdom that you share. So that's very important. So anyway, that's going to wrap up our first episode of the In Full Force podcast. Dawn, thank you so much for being here, for letting us know about Ayurvedic science, medicine, the BodiScience Wellness Center and Spa. And I'm going to have you on as a reoccurring guest, because I think there's so many things that you can talk about. Today we scratched the surface. We talked about the overview, rainbow view of BodiScience, but I would love to talk to you more about specific treatments and ways that we can reverse some of the damage we may have done to ourselves over the years. So thank you for joining us for the inaugural In Full Force podcast. If you like what you heard, you want to come back for more, this is going to be a bi-weekly podcast to start. And like us, leave comments, ask questions, and thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Julie.